How do you think this inquiry is going? I mean, it's going to cost nearer $250 million than $100 million. It's going to take many, many years. Is this a good use of our time and resources and effort?
Yeah, so just touching on that cost, we at the Taxpayers Alliance, like many people actually over recent days, have been doing some calculations as to how much this could cost. We've actually come up with a relatively conservative estimate of £156 million, but even that would be the second most expensive COVID public inquiry ever. It would be the most expensive per day at about £109,000 per day. And what are we getting for that money? Well, at the moment, essentially what we're getting really is a soap opera, which is more concerned with who said what curse word when, and honing in on the specific issue of lockdowns and not looking at the much, much broader picture. And I think that will infuriate taxpayers, and I know it will infuriate your viewers, because we're not getting value for money from this inquiry at the moment.
And essentially, is this the establishment protecting the establishment at the expense of the politicians who, sort of, I guess almost everybody's quite happy to sort of throw under the bus and blame them? Is that what's really going on here, or do they think that they're doing a splendid job?
I think it's a refusal to look at the bigger picture, fundamentally. The really interesting thing about Eat Out to Help Out, which was one of the topics covered today, I think we were very much against the policy. I think it was a bad policy. But the one thing you can say for it is it's one of the few times during the pandemic where actually policymakers, politicians were thinking about something other than just trying to limit COVID cases. And the problem is for that 18 months, we basically had one policy priority, and the result of that has been enormous damage to every single other area.
Because obviously Eat Out to Help Out was expensive.
It was expensive,
but
yeah,
what it did
expensive.
do was the hospitality sector was in complete crisis.
Yeah.
It did give people confidence to go out and to socialise and to start spending money again, to protect jobs, and that was very much the Chancellor's key objective. In that sense, I would argue, yes, it was expensive, but it did work. It did achieve that objective of getting things going again.
Yeah, and I can absolutely understand the rationale behind it. The problem is all of that progress was then undone by the fact that we then had more or less 6, 7, 8 months of almost continuous and very severe lockdowns. And I think this brings back to the problem of the COVID inquiry. It's just looking at, did lockdown work in the very limited focus of bringing down cases of this respiratory illness that we know would have gone around anyway, and it's not looking at, in the overall picture, when you think of education, other healthcare, business, mental health, all of those other factors, it's essentially ignoring.